Welcome and thank you all for coming. I just wanted to let everyone know that if you've got other friends or relatives that were planning to come, just give them a call now. We might be able to fit some more people under maybe in that corner over here if they're keen to come along. But in all seriousness, we are here to support an idea that until very recently has been not very fully understood. The idea that Australia can transition to 100% renewable energy in the next 10 years has been fully advocated by Climate Action Hobart in the 10 Steps for a Safe Climate, along with planning and cities and transport, sustainable energy management, and getting up to 100% renewables as an island has been one of our key priorities. But until this point, we haven't had a full understanding of how that can happen and the actual technical reality of it. So tonight's a really important night. You might all know of the Zero Carbon Australia 2020 project, which is a joint project from Beyond Zero Emissions and the Melbourne Research Institute. And that project is laying out under 5 reports of how we can technically and feasibly and affordably get to a zero carbon future in Australia by 2020. So it means that our 10 steps for a safe climate can actually be implemented in Tasmania in the next 10 years, or if not before. So I'd like to welcome you all tonight here. We've got a range of speakers. We've got the lead authors of the report that we're launching. We've also got Todd Houston from Sustainable Living Tasmania and Peter Ray from the Tasmanian Renewable Energy Development Board. So sit tight and enjoy the speakers.
Look, thank you very much, Hannah, for introducing tonight's proceedings, and thank you to Climate Action Hobart for putting this on and inviting us all here tonight so that you can hear about our report that we've put so much effort into. Can you just back that off a tiny bit? 1, 2, 2, 2. That's better. Yep. Work at a radio station as well. Yes, I'm about to. So sorry, I'll just and thank you, Peter Ray from the Renewable Energy Industry Development Board, and Patrick, of course, who comes around from the University of Melbourne, who comes around and helps us out with this and is the co-author of the report. I'm Matthew Wright, and I'm the Executive Director of Beyond Zero Emissions. It's a community-based not-for-profit group advancing a decarbonised future, and one of the big focuses, because Australia is very carbon intensive in the energy sector, is of course moving to 100% renewable energy economy. So we worked with the University of Melbourne Energy Research Institute, and we're looking at partnering with some other leading universities around the country as well in the not too distant future. And so we're going to be writing these plans, and we've got a fund set up at the university. Also, Beyond Zero Emissions is a not-for-profit that needs donations, and so that we can write these plans and hopefully set the pace for policy making, so that something approaching this or something like this can happen in the policy sphere with politicians. So first we need to promote the idea so it can be discussed and debated, and alternative scenarios can come up, but until someone actually puts it on the table, then it's never a concept that can be obviously achieved, because it doesn't exist. But now I believe with the work we've done, and thanks to the really big team we've got of volunteers, people from industry who put it together, we've actually got that debating point, and we can talk about that, what our governments can do. So the plan is, of course, the Stationary Energy Plan. It's part of 6 projects we have. So the Stationary Energy Plan, we've got a buildings plan, a transport plan, an industrial processes plan, a land use change, forestry and agriculture plan, and it's replacing fossil fuel export revenue, or we call it Australia as a super renewable powerhouse. And so that's basically our 6 plans, and we've written just this one at the moment, and we're working on 4 at the moment. Version 2 of this one, the buildings plan, the transport plan, and the land use plan. So at the moment we've got about 100 volunteers who are working in that space, a lot of industry participants, and we're trying to get that out the door within the next year. So you might ask about 10 years, and I'll just give a few reasons as to why we chose that as a planning timeframe, a project management type timeframe. Let's just look at climate science for starters as a reason. This is from Professor Hans-Joachim Schellenhuber. He's the climate advisor to Angela Merkel and the EU, and he basically has given this data on what it would take if we used 2010 as a baseline, so this year as a baseline, and gave a per capita allocation of carbon budget out to 2050 for each of the countries in the world, industrialised and non-industrialised, and how quickly we'd chew through our budget if we were to avoid 2 degrees Celsius. But not just avoid 2 degrees Celsius, but only have a 67% chance. So in other words, I wouldn't hop on an aeroplane with a 67% chance of getting to the other end, but for argument's sake, this is what is proposed. And the United States would need to be down to decarbonised within a decade, and Australia has a very similar emissions profile to the United States, so you can use that as by inference of what Australia needs to do. So that's what the climate science is saying. So in order to address that, we put together the Can-Do team, and I was telling you about the Can-Do team before. It's all our pro bono researchers. We've got chemical engineers, mechanical engineers, automotive engineers, electrical engineers, physicists, all sorts of people who work in regulatory. They work at the grid operator. They work, they work in car plants. They work in academia, and they've all donated their time to create the future that they want to be part of and they want to actually work in. So it's their future employment opportunities. You've got people who worked in oil refineries and that they want to work building solar thermal plants, but they can't do that until we've got the right regulatory regime and the acceptance in the community. So they're happy to donate their time to work and put together these reports. In terms of 10 years, Al Gore was there in 2008 saying that the US should move to 100% clean electricity and have independence from foreign oil within a decade. Now, the independence from foreign oil byline is interesting because in the US, they're already importing 80% of their oil, and Australia is on the route to the same problem. We're currently importing 50% of our liquid fuels, and just by 2015, so only in 5 years, we'll be in the same predicament as the United States. We'll be importing 80% of our liquid petroleum fuels. So that's pretty big problem, and that suggests to us that his actual proposal is to mostly go to an all-energy policy of renewables, and that's what we've done in our report. So we're not just talking about electricity, we're talking about electricity services that are currently provided by the electricity sector. We're talking about space and water heating, which is often gas or what have you, and we're talking transport fuels, liquid fuels. So the second thing he says that there's a political promise to do something 40 years from now is universally ignored because everyone knows that it's meaningless. 10 years is about the maximum time that we as a nation can hold a steady aim and hit our target. So we took that and said, let's make a project management timeline for what labour resources, what commodities you need, what sort of factories and skill levels you need in order to complete a plan. And that can then set as a baseline for us to have the political discussion. Now, this has been done at a higher level for the globe by, and still ongoing project at Stanford by Mark Jacobson. And he's got a project for the whole world by 2030. And our plan fits well into that because developing countries would come to the 100% position a bit later. So you can check out the November edition of Scientific American, or you can look for the Wave, Wind and Water, the Water, Wind and Sun project. Water, Wind and Sun it's called. And that's using commercially available now renewables as well. Interestingly, he chose the same wind turbines we chose for our study, independently. So a key technology to achieve this is concentrating solar thermal. Now here's where I'm going to tell you about the Australian plan because Tasmania is about 10, 11 terawatt hours of power, whereas the rest of the country, the total figure for Australia is 260 terawatt hours. So Tasmania is a smaller proportion of that. So most of our initial work is based on Australia. And Patrick, who's from the University of Melbourne Energy Research Institute, will take you through a Tasmanian the beginnings of our Tasmanian plan to give you an idea of the more regional plans we're now entering into.